Howdy folks, this is Dan from Kitchen Caboodle's Urban Chic Showroom on Etsy. Today I'm going to show you some tips on removing the old glaze from some of these old vintage paint jobs using oven cleaner. Now this is just your typical average generic oven cleaner which I bought at the dollar store. And what we're going to be using is some fine steel wool. I usually recommend either 00 or 000 grade. You can see it comes in a range of different grades, anywhere from quad 0, which in my opinion is a little bit too fine for this kind of an application, all the way up through the coarse grains 3. I don't recommend using anything from 0 up because it's just going to make for a gummy mess and probably scratch your underlying paint. Our goal here really is to save and preserve this old paint that's underneath here. Now a lot of times with these pieces, people see this and they say, oh, that's dated, that's so muddy brown. Here, I'll tilt the camera down a little bit. You can see where I've already started an area on to the side here, and you can see it has this lovely old creamy paint job here. It's got a real nice antique quality. There's still a little bit of kind of some remnants of glaze in here and there, which is more what we want to see. That's a more authentic look, at least in my opinion, and a more popular look today than this extremely brushy brown surface. Once my camera focuses, that you can see down here on the bottom of the chest, which today just kind of looks sloppy, messy. It's just a little bit too much, and it just makes the piece look tired and dated. So, but rather than strip this entire dresser and start from scratch all the way with the bare wood, why not save us some time and trouble, work smarter, not harder, keep our costs down, and actually save this nice old paint that's on this piece. I got real lucky with this piece. It's got very nice, stable paint. One thing you might want to watch for before you do start doing this, what I recommend is all this decoration, the veneer work, the carved details and things on the face of the piece here. You want to make all of your glue repairs, veneer repairs, and all of that first before you go ahead and take this step. The reason being because you can see I haven't done it here on the face here yet. What I'll do is I'll take these drawers out, I will glue all of this down and make all of these repairs very securely before I go ahead with this step, because you don't want the residue or the oven cleaner itself to get down underneath this veneer here, and it's just going to make for a gummy mess. So I very much recommend do all of your repairs first. Be ready with that. I'm not going to tackle these drawer fronts right now. They're just in there to show you. I'm going to stick to the side right here, which, as you can see, doesn't really need any repair. All of that's in very good condition. It's just a case of removing the muddiest, brownest part of it that's really holding back the aesthetic of the piece. Now, all I'm really going to do is, just like your oven, take the cap off of this, give it a couple of shakes. You can see I'm already in the midst of using this here, and just spray some on. Make sure you're doing this outside or somewhere in an area with plenty of ventilation. Follow the instructions on the can as far as safety is concerned. Here, I've got my steel wool up here. I usually start with the finer grade first, and if it tends to gum up too quickly or it's not really working, then I'll switch up to a coarser grade. The more number of zeros, the finer the grade. You can see that there. Notice I've got my protective gloves on to save my hands and my skin. I'll pull a new pad out. Here's what my old pad looked like. You can see they do get kind of gummed up. So, don't be afraid to go ahead and switch up with a new pad frequently. Throw these old gummy pads out. Otherwise, you're doing twice as much work. Now, I've had this on here for a little while. On some surfaces, it may actually start to eat into the paint. You want to test this somewhere in an inconspicuous area before you begin and see how it reacts, because you never know what is on these pieces. You don't know what they use to put on them to do the paint job and to create the glaze on them. So it pays to be cautious, test it in an area, and see how it reacts. If it just cleans off the glaze, or if it really eats through the paint quickly, that could vary. On this piece I got lucky. It doesn't really eat much into the paint at all. It's really taking the glaze off quite nicely, very quickly and easily. So I've had that on there for a few seconds, and now I'm just going to start to kind of scrub it off. You'll notice it doesn't do a whole lot just wiping it off. See that? It's still on there. It's the combined action of the cleaner along with the steel wool pad that starts to clean that off. And off to my side, easily reachable, accessible up here, I've got my rag. That's so I can wipe off some of the excess. And you can kind of work it. It might take a little practice to really get it seamless, so that you get nice even marks up and down the piece. I don't really want to make it look super brand new. I want it to retain a kind of antique surface. And I'm just going to scrub that off. Much better. And then that's going to leave me with some really neat old white paint. If this gets a little gummy or sticky, you can see how it's giving me a little resistance. I'm getting some spots here. This was formerly a container of another cleaner, which I have replaced with just some plain water in there. I spray it on my rag here, and that'll wipe off any kind of residuals that are lingering on here. It's best to do that before the residual of the oven cleaner has a chance to dry. That way you've just got a little bit of moisture to kind of pull that excess off. I usually work up and down or in line with the grain as much as possible. See how that's doing quite nicely right there. And while I've still got a few seconds of recording time left here, I'll show you one last trick for the fine detail areas. When you get to them, this is the easy part really, right here on the side where it's flat. It's real simple, clean straight lines, pretty easy to deal with. Well, so what do you do when you get around to the face of it and you've got all this detail work? I'm not sure how well you can see this in this video, but this particular chest has quite a lot of detail going down the face of it in all these areas, and that's why I've got my toothbrush. This toothbrush was actually an unused old vintage toothbrush which I pulled out of a piece of furniture just like this. I didn't even pay for it. How's that for being frugal? You can actually just take a little of this down here. I've already re-glued the detail trim, these carved elements on this particular drawer. You can just put some of that on there, almost like it's toothpaste. I know, gross, right? And just scrub them down a little bit and take off as much or as little as you want. Customize it to your liking. You can see how that's starting to lighten up right there. See that? And when I'm done, I'll have a piece that's a lot brighter, cleaner looking, but still plenty enough antique for what my clients want to see. So that's the basics. I'm Dan from Kitchen Caboodle. My store on Etsy is the Urban Chic Showroom. Thanks for watching.